AMD have sent over their 3 latest graphics cards and 3 of their gaming-orientated processors at 3 different price points. And we're going to combine all of those into one ultimate gaming rig and see just how well they perform. Being an all-AMD system, we can take advantage of Smart Access Memory, Fidelity FX, and Radeon Super Resolution to squeeze every last frame out of this gaming powerhouse. Anyway, the boxes are in the next room. Let's get unboxing. Inside these boxes are all the components required to build an awesome gaming machine. At first, I wasn't 100% sure this box was for the AMD video, as it was so small. The empty anti-static packaging bags were hiding the small items inside, what appeared to be some of the AMD 5000 series processors, the 5600 and the 5700X, the low and mid-tier processors for this video. And being Ryzen 5000 series processors, they enable us to use AMD's Smart Access Memory, or SAM for short. In conventional Windows-based systems, processors can only access a fraction of graphics memory at once, limiting gaming performance. But with AMD's Smart Access Memory, the data channel is expanded to harness the full potential of the GPU memory, taking full advantage of PCI Express to remove the bottleneck and increase performance, which we'll see in our testing later in the video. The ROG Strix X570E gaming board is one of the best for the AMD CPU platform, featuring built-in Wi-Fi 6E and PCIe Gen 4. We'll be able to take full advantage of the AMD CPU and GPU combination. But even if you just have an AMD GPU, there's still performance to be gained thanks to Radeon Super Resolution. It's an in-driver upscaling feature that allows you to play games at a lower resolution for better frame rates with next to no impact on image quality. The best part is there's already thousands of games that'll work with it. It's super easy to enable in AMD's Adrenalin software suite. All you've got to do is launch the software, enter the settings menu, and enable Radeon Super Resolution. There's also the option to adjust how sharp the image will look, and we'll be putting it to work in some of my favorite games once we've built the PC. Last of all, go full screen in your game of choice and lower your resolution. RSR will then intelligently upscale the image so that you get improved frame rates. And here we have the most budget-orientated card of the 3, the 6650 XT. This 8GB PCIe 4.0 card is designed to target 1080p games at max graphical settings, and the RDNA 2 architecture delivers great performance per watt of power used. And even with this budget-oriented 6000 series card, you can take advantage of yet another AMD performance-boosting technology. Fidelity FX Super Resolution, or FSR for short, uses cutting-edge upscaling technologies to boost frame rates in selected titles. The list of compatible games is always growing, and it even works with a number of older AMD Radeon graphics cards as well. Go to AMD's website to see if your hardware is compatible. It's basically like getting extra FPS for free. The next card inside is the high-performance 6750 XT. This 250-watt 12GB card also features 96MB of AMD's Infinity Cache, which essentially allows for a significant increase in bandwidth with low latency. And the last card of all is AMD's flagship 6950 XT. This performance monster of a card features 16GB of GDDR6 memory and 128MB of Infinity Cache. It's designed for gaming at 4K and can pull up to 335 watts of power under full load. To keep the 3 different processors cool throughout our testing, we'll be using this ROG all-in-one liquid cooler, featuring dual 120mm Noctua fans, a 7th gen Aztec pump, and a 3.5-inch LCD display. This has a ton of features and should adequately cool every CPU we throw at it, including this, the Ryzen 7 5800X3D, which AMD claim is the world's fastest desktop gaming processor, featuring 8 cores, 16 threads, and a boost clock of up to 4.5 GHz and a crazy 96MB of level 3 cache. To power the system we're building, AMD have also sent over an 850-watt ROG Thor power supply. With 80+ platinum efficiency and RGB lighting, this is a serious PSU worthy of such an awesome build. In the third and final box, we've got the case. A rather large one, I must say. This is the Hyte Y60 gaming-orientated case that looks to have arrived safely. It also reminds me of a fish tank. This computer will have so much room for expandability, and the graphics card can also be mounted horizontally. There is also access to the 3.5-inch drive base from the outside. Now, to prepare for assembling the system, it's definitely a good idea to get very familiar with the ins and outs of the case. Make sure you know where all the screws are as well. I finally found them hidden in one of the storage bays. It's been about 8 years since I assembled a new computer in this fashion, and I'll be doing my best to read the instructions and route the cables as neatly as possible. And I'm pretty sure the last time I built a new desktop computer was back in 2013, nearly 10 years ago in fact, and I must say, the motherboard I put in that system didn't look this good. There are also a few peelies that are always fun to take off, nearly as fun as popping bubble wrap. In this build, I won't need to install any mechanical or SATA-based SSDs thanks to this NVMe storage. This motherboard has two M2 slots, both under large heatsinks. This drive already has its own heatsink, and I don't want to void the warranty by removing it. So I decided to use the other M2 slot, which would be a lot more hidden in the final build. And I'll be starting off with the cheapest of the three processors, the 6-core 12-thread Ryzen 5600. I feel as if it's worth working out how the all-in-one liquid cooler works before I install the motherboard into the casing. It'll be a lot harder to change things once it's in there. The pre-installed cooler mounts have to go. These were easily removed using a Phillips head screwdriver, and this is designed for Intel and AMD processors, so be sure you use the correct mounting bracket provided in the box. It's also very important to double check the instructions included to avoid damaging the delicate board surface. I then installed the correct mounting screws and tightened them securely. I still haven't decided which way I'm going to mount the radiator itself, however it looks like you can orientate the base plate in any direction. I also had to choose which direction to mount the two 120mm fans, trying to keep the cables hidden as best as possible. Now the board can be slotted into place. This was a bit of a tight fit due to the rear exhaust fan. It was simply a matter of unscrewing it and flipping it 90 degrees to allow for more clearance. Then all the required screws could be put in. The last thing you'd want to do is have the board falling out. I also just noticed that there are two air intake fans on the base which will help with airflow. The next component I wanted to test fit was the beefy power supply, an absolute unit. The 80+ platinum rating means it should be very efficient, hopefully saving a bit of electricity which isn't cheap here in Australia. It even has RGB lighting, however I doubt it'll be visible in this case sadly. One plus side is the fact that it is a modular unit, so I won't have to plug in any more connectors than I actually need. Now comes the fun part, trying to neatly install all of the cables and other components in the case. I also decided that it would be best to mount the radiator from the all-in-one liquid cooler vertically here, as space would be tight if I tried to mount it above the motherboard itself. Now it's time to get a good look at the first of the new AMD graphics processors. This particular card costs about $580 here in Australia, and that's around $420 US. I'll be putting this card through its paces with the all AMD technologies on and off to see just how much of an FPS difference there is. If you're feeling confident, I think you'll get a lot of satisfaction out of building a computer of your own. I once again removed the graphics card so that I could properly seat the cooler and get the last of the cables routed correctly. It was now time for a bit of peeling action. It's best to leave this until last to avoid unnecessary smudges during the assembly. So I managed to assemble the system as neatly as possible, but the real test will be whether it actually turns on, so let's find out. With my fingers crossed, I pushed the power button. The RGB lighting sprung into life, and after I realized the screen was switched off, we got a successful boot. The 16GB of RAM was detected and the CPU was idling at a cool 27 degrees Celsius. Enabling AMD's Smart Access Memory was as easy as pressing a few buttons in the BIOS. This means the data channel gets expanded to harness the full potential of the graphics memory, utilizing the bandwidth of the PCI Express slot. The steps to enable it may be different depending on your AMD compatible motherboard. And I'm very pleased with how the RGB lighting turned out. This can all be controlled through software once we're installed Windows. So I went ahead and installed Windows. I think I may have to buy a new key since I've used my license quite a few times now. All the games tested will be run at their max settings both with and without the AMD technologies enabled. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla's benchmark, we got an average of 92 frames per second natively. This increased to an average of 102 with Smart Access Memory and Fidelity effects enabled, a 10 FPS increase. This game is one of the ones that supports Fidelity effects and AI upscaling technology, meaning you can run the game at a lower resolution and have the image upscaled for improved frame rates. The performance boost was significant, with barely any noticeable difference in image quality. Horizon Zero Dawn is another Fidelity FX compatible game that saw a jump of about 35 frames per second. Once again, the AI upscaling is pretty convincing and I struggled to tell the difference between the native resolution and the upscaled image, a nice feature to have if you really want to maximize frame rate. In games not compatible with Fidelity FX, you can use AMD's Super Resolution. This can easily be enabled in the AMD Adrenalin software suite. When combined with Smart Access Memory enabled, I saw an increase of 53 frames per second using the RSR driver-based upscaler. In BeamNG Drive, I was also able to get a 30 FPS increase by enabling SAM and Radeon Super Resolution. Once again, the upscaling produces comparable clarity and definition compared to the native resolution. As we can see, even the lower end 6650 XT does really well for 1080p gaming, and incredibly well using Fidelity effects and Radeon Super Resolution. The difference in image quality between native and upscaled is hard to tell apart. So for 1080p gaming, the 5600 and the 6650 XT is a great combination, but how about targeting 1440p? So now it's time to step it up to the middle tier of CPU and graphics cards with the 5700X and the 6750 XT. This graphics card costs about $900 here in Australia and around $549 US. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, once again we see a significant frame rate boost with SAM and Fidelity effects enabled, an even greater frame rate with the resolution lowered to 1080p and upscaled to 1440. Horizon Zero Dawn saw almost a doubling of frame rate going from the native resolution to 1080p with SAM and Fidelity effects upscaling enabled. Once again, the difference in image quality and clarity is negligible, definitely worth it for a substantial performance gain. PUBG was another great example of Radeon Super Resolution in action. With the 1080p image upscaled to 1440p, I gained about 50 frames per second with minimal loss to image quality. BeamNG Drive also saw similar results using the 1080p upscaled image. Once again, we see that taking advantage of FSR and RSR is a pretty big deal, and the icing on the cake is the extra performance boost with simply having Smart Access Memory also enabled. Last of all, we're going to be testing out the 6950 flagship graphics card alongside the 5800X 3D CPU, which has 8 cores, 16 threads, and a whopping 96 megabytes of level 3 cache. I finally worked out that the top of the cooler detaches, making it much easier to unscrew the mounting nuts. And combined with the powerhouse 6950 XT Radeon graphics, this is a system easily capable of gaming at a 4K resolution. Costing around $17.99 Australian and around $1,000 US, it seems pretty competitive compared to Nvidia's current offerings. Without SAM enabled, Assassin's Creed averages 74 frames per second, but with Fidelity effects enabled, upscaling a 1440p image nearly doubles the average frame rate. And once again, the upscaling is hardly noticeable. Horizon Zero Dawn sees a similar doubling of frame rate when running an upscaled 1440p image. With next to no sacrifice in image clarity, I think this is a huge win if you value high resolutions and high frame rate gameplay. PUBG at 4K averages about 130 frames per second without SAM enabled, very impressive. And with the use of Radeon Super Resolution, the same game upscaled from 1440p adds on about 100 extra frames per second. And BeamNG Drive also saw a good improvement with the upscaled image. Across all the tests I did, 3 different hardware setups, 4 games, 3 different sets of data for each, and 2 passes for consistency, that's 72 benchmarks run, we can see that there are clear and measurable performance gains by taking advantage of AMD's technologies. With next to no sacrifice to image quality, why not give them a go? With computer components becoming more readily available, it's great to see AMD coming out with some compelling CPUs and GPUs at different price points. And the tight integration of their Fidelity effects and Smart Access Memory technologies makes building an all AMD gaming system a very compelling option. So there we have it, the ultimate all AMD gaming system, which takes advantage of all the technologies possible to get every frame per second you possibly can. And big thanks to AMD for sponsoring this video and sending over those components. If you've liked this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.